The crystalline towers of New Draconis gleamed under 3 suns, their surfaces reflecting the wealth that flowed through the galactic capital like rivers of liquid gold. Here, the Draconians ruled ancient, powerful, and utterly convinced of their superiority over every other species in the known galaxy. Arya of Exteros stood in the maintenance bay of her private starship, the crimson eclipse, her scaled skin shimmering with iridescent purples and golds. Her vertical pupils narrowed as she surveyed the human mechanic kneeling beside her ship's quantum drive core. The acrid smell of burnt circuitry filled the air, and smoke still wisps from the exposed systems. "Explain this catastrophe," she hissed, her voice carrying the multi-layered harmonics unique to her species. Each word seemed to vibrate through the air itself. Albert Chen didn't look up immediately. His calloused hands moved with practiced precision, disconnecting a damaged relay module. His jumpsuit was stained with grease and coolant, his face smudged with carbon scoring. When he finally stood, he barely reached Arya's shoulder, yet he met her gaze without flinching. "Your drive core is fried, ma'am. The quantum resonance chamber has 3 stress fractures, and your antimatter containment field is operating at 60% efficiency." He wiped his hands on a rag, his tone matter. "Whoever installed your last upgrade used Centauri components. They're incompatible with Draconian power systems." Arya's tail lashed behind her, cracking like a whip against the polished floor. "Impossible. That upgrade cost me 50,000 galactic credits. The technician assured me it was top of the line for a cargo hauler, maybe." Albert gestured to the exposed machinery. "But your ship is a combat-class vessel. These components can't handle the power fluctuations during dimensional jumps. You're lucky the whole thing didn't explode mid-flight." The dragon woman's eyes flared with golden light. Around the bay, other workers, mostly Centauri and a few Throlians, paused in their tasks. Sensing the rising tension, Arya took a step forward, her presence dominating the space. "Are you suggesting I was deceived?" "I'm saying someone saw a rich client and figured you wouldn't know the difference," Albert replied, already turning back to his diagnostic scanner. "It happens more than you'd think." Silence stretched between them, broken only by the hum of machinery and the distant sounds of the star. Arya's jaw clenched, revealing rows of crystalline teeth. She had built her fortune through ruthless business acumen, had commanded fleets in the border wars, had negotiated treaties with species that predated galactic civilization itself. And now this human dared to speak to her as if she were some naive tourist. "You're fired," she said, each word dropping like a stone. "Pack your tools and leave my ship, immediately." Albert's hands stilled on the scanner. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he straightened, set down his tools with deliberate care, and turned to face her fully. "All right," he said quietly, "but before I go, you should know something. I don't require explanations from that stress fracture in your resonance chamber." Albert interrupted, pointing to the core. "It's propagating. Right now, it's millimeters wide. In about 6 hours, it'll reach critical mass. When you engage your drive for the next jump, the quantum foam will destabilize. The containment field will fail." He picked up his toolkit, slinging it over his shoulder. "Your ship will fold in on itself, creating a localized singularity. You, your crew, and everything within a 50-meter radius will be compressed into a point smaller than an atom. It'll take approximately 2.3 seconds. You won't feel anything after the first second." Arya's scales rippled, an involuntary response. "You're attempting to frighten me." "No, ma'am. I'm giving you the facts." Albert moved toward the exit, then paused. "There are maybe 5 mechanics in this entire sector qualified to repair a quantum resonance chamber under field conditions. I'm one of them. The others," he shrugged, "they charge about 10 times what you were paying me, and they're all booked solid for the next 3 months. Then I'll wait. Your meeting with the consortium is in 2 days, the one that determines whether you keep your mining rights to the Kepler Belt asteroids." Albert's expression remained neutral. "But I'm sure they'll understand if you reschedule. Big companies are always flexible with deadlines." The sarcasm in his voice was subtle but unmistakable. Arya's claws extended involuntarily, scoring marks in her palm. The human was right, and they both knew it. That meeting represented contracts worth billions. Postponing would signal weakness, and her competitors would circle like scavengers. "Why should I trust you?" she demanded. "For all I know, you sabotaged my ship to create this situation." Albert stopped at the doorway and looked back. His brown eyes held something she hadn't expected, not anger or resentment, but a deep, weary patience. "Because, ma'am, I've been fixing ships since I was 8 years old in the orbital yards above Earth. I've rebuilt drives that Draconian engineers said were I've kept colony ships running on nothing but spare parts and determination. He shifted his toolkit. I don't need to sabotage your ship. I'm good enough that you need me anyway. Human arrogance, Arya spat. Human competence, Albert corrected. There's a difference. He began to walk away, his footsteps echoing in the vast maintenance bay. Arya watched him go, her mind racing. Pride warred with She thought of the consortium meeting, of the billions at stake, of the political implications if she showed any weakness. Wait, she called out, the word tasting like ash in her mouth. Albert stopped but didn't turn around. What would it take? Arya forced the words out. To repair my ship in time. 36 hours. Full access to your systems. No interference. He glanced over his shoulder. And an apology. The dragon woman's scales flushed crimson. You insulted my professional integrity and fired me without cause. Albert said calmly. I dare ask for basic respect. That's all. The maintenance bay seemed to hold its breath. Arya's entire body trembled with suppressed fury. Every instinct screamed at her to incinerate this impudent human where he stood. But beneath the anger, a cold, calculating part of her brain, the part that had built her empire, whispered different counsel. Fine, she ground out. I apologize for my hasty judgment. Albert turned fully, studying her face. Then, slowly, he nodded. Apology accepted, ma'am. He walked back to the quantum core and knelt beside it, already pulling tools from his kit. Now, let's save your ship. As Albert worked, Arya remained standing nearby, watching the human's hands move with surgical precision through her ship's most critical systems. She had ruled over corporations, commanded respect from species that had mastered spaceflight, while humans still lived in caves. Yet somehow, in this moment, she realized that respect couldn't be demanded. It had to be underveined from a grease-stained mechanic who understood something she had forgotten. That competence spoke louder than titles. The crimson eclipse would fly again. And perhaps, Arya thought as she watched Albert work, she had just learned something far more valuable than she'd bargained for. To be continued.